Joe Biden lost his cool. I'm trying to figure out what was wrong with Joe Biden. I've been telling you Joe Biden his time is not ready for prime time. And I'm not sure how he got into this. Obama, the Mac Daddy, is not supporting him. In fact, Obama's been dissing him. And I think one of the things that has caused Joe Biden his time to lose his momentum is the fact that the Mac Daddy is not endorsing him. But Sean Hannity did a tap dance on him last night. And I want to bring up clip number 2, Mr. Engineer, of Sean Hannity and leave my mic open so I can just kind of, respond to some of the things that Sean is saying about Joe Biden, my time.
I made a surprise visit to what was a tiny, itsy-bitsy, sparsely attended Biden campaign event. Kind of depressing sight, to be very blunt. And many in the audience, there were buses, they were bussed in. And a lot of people there, when I talked to them, they weren't even supporting quid pro quo Joe. Just kind of there for the entertainment. Here's a preview, and it gets very interesting of what went down. Take a look. Joe Biden's on tape saying, you're not getting $1 billion unless you fire a prosecutor who's investigating his son, has no experience in oil, gas, energy, or Ukraine, and yet he's getting paid millions and millions of dollars. Is that okay with you?
I have no comment.
I think that's a red herring to take the concentration off what Trump has done.
Trump was just acquitted for life.
I know, by a Senate that was.
You're not answering my question.
This is these Trump people. They are diabolical. They're demonic. Sean is trying to force somebody to say something ugly against Joe Biden and positive against Trump, and they won't do it. The woman said, "I have no comment," and he went, "Well, get out of my face." It's like, and now this guy is trying to explain to Sean Hannity, and then Trump said, then Sean Hannity comes back that Trump is acquitted for life. Nobody's acquitted for life. It's absolutely, the desperation is a signal that the earth underneath Tribulation Trump is caving. But go ahead, Mr. Engineer, roll it further.
Yeah, I'm sure all of your sons and daughters are going to get millions of dollars just to get paid for doing and knowing nothing with no experience. That happens to all of us, right? I guess if we hit the lottery,
what happens to you? You get paid millions of dollars for doing nothing.
First,
you get paid millions of dollars for promoting lies, promoting a coochie grabber. You get paid millions and millions of dollars for spreading discord and uber racism, Sean Hannity. You get paid for doing that. So what's the big deal? What's the difference between you and Hunter Biden? Of course, you don't know anything about social understanding. You know nothing about the presence of the mindset of God, and yet you get paid millions of dollars by Fox and money under the table from Tribulation Trump to suck up and to promote him like a soapbox salesman. You snake oil salesman, Sean Hannity. But go ahead, Mr. Engineer.
Until the election, you will be the ultimate jury. You have an opportunity to shock the world once again. And this is political crunch time. The Democratic Party, we can report tonight, is in an utter state of complete shambles. It is a mess. The Iowa caucus, a total unmitigated disaster. The field of 2020 Democrats, so weak, so radical, so extreme. Many party insiders are now actually freaking out on the outside. 77-year-old quid pro quo Joe, he's supposed to be the fresh new face of the Democratic Party. You look at the three older, Bloomberg, Biden, and Bernie Sanders, that's like 500 years old combined. He's supposed to be their front runner, but after a pathetic fourth-place finish in Iowa, his campaign is flailing, and the polls here in New Hampshire not looking good either.
Well, I will give you that, Sean. Joe Biden is a disaster. There's no doubt about that. I don't, why he got in, who talked him into it. To run. I've never seen Joe Biden as being able to deal with Tribulation Trump. You need somebody who can verbally slap Trump like Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders slapped the orange paint off that boy's face. By the way, Sean, do you have orange paint on your face too? Turn around, let me see that. Anyway, let's continue. Go ahead.
Agitated and frankly, again, incoherent, Joe snapping at a 21-year-old woman attending one of his town halls. It's not the first time he's been snapping at people that he's asking to vote for him. She dared to ask a question about the Iowa caucus and electability. He said, you can't make this up, that the young woman had a dog face. and called the woman, 21-year-old woman, a liar. Great job, Joe. Take a look.
So how do you explain the performance in Iowa, and why should the voters believe that you can win the national election?
It's a good question. Number one, Iowa's a Democratic caucus. You ever been to a caucus? No, you haven't. You're a lying dog-faced pony soldier. You said you were, but now you got.
What is that? What is he doing? You're a lying dog-faced pony? What is that? I was a caucus? Have you ever been there? She said, yeah. How did he know she's not been there before? Well, and then he turns around. I mean, the boy, Joe Biden, go home. Somebody put that boy in a nursing home. That boy needs home care. What's he doing on the campaign trail? Yeah, who pushed him out there in the first place? You know, the sad thing about this is that all the Hamite people love him and support him. That says something wrong with the Hamite people. That boy don't have a snowball's chance in you know what. And why would he call that young girl a lying dog-faced pony? Where does that come from anyway? Is that something they just set in the sticks of Scranton, Pennsylvania that we ain't never heard down here in the hood? I mean, we call you a liar, you know, and a whole lot of other stuff. But dog, what's that, a lying dog-faced pony? What was that again? Anyway, Mr. Engine, go ahead, go ahead. Sean gonna jump all over this, Sean Hannity. Sean, you're a liar too, Sean, but go ahead.
Should the voters believe that you can win the national election?
It's a good question. Number one, Iowa's a Democratic caucus. You ever been to a caucus? No, you haven't. You're a lying dog-faced pony soldier. You said you were, but now you got to be honest. I'm going to be honest with you. It was a little bit confusing in Iowa.
First, he says,
confused.
I am an Iowa caucus. What? It's just like Joe 30330. Then he says to a 21-year-old woman, you're a lying, dog-faced pony soldier. Supposed to be the Democratic Party frontrunner. He's really connecting with the folks, with the people. We the people that he wants to vote for him. That's their top candidate. Now, this is now the third time that quid pro quo Joe was caught on camera being rude, nasty to voters. He said that he was only joking. Didn't look like a joke to me, but the 21-year-old college student at the receiving end of this rage, well, she's not laughing tonight. In fact, she is insulted that they are pretending this was some big, funny joke. She said that quid pro quo Joe humiliated her and, quote, he has been performing extremely poorly in the race, and the fact that he couldn't just answer a straight question without bullying or intimidating just exacerbates that fact. She's right. And earlier tonight, our own Griff Jenkins was able to interview this 21-year-old student. Let's take a look.
Frankly, when he speaks, a lot of what he's saying seems to be really pathos-based and very sad. We have heard a lot about deaths and cancer and people losing their jobs. And to me, he doesn't really seem very solution-oriented in how we fix those problems. I don't think he has the momentum to carry this to a national election.
You know what I think, though? It's a pause right now. Pause, Sean. Let Sean. Shut up, Sean. Shut up. I think that woman is a Bernie Sanders supporter. You know, Bernie got a lot of young people, a ton of young people around him. And I think that what probably ticked Biden off was he probably realized that she's a Sanders plant, you know, because they do that. You know, they plant people in to ask you all kind of difficult questions, you know. And I think Biden probably, the reason why he flew off the handle there, well, I think he realized that woman was sent there by the Sanders committee. And maybe Sanders himself didn't send her, but sent there by the Sanders committee. And he just lost it. You know, he just lost it. I mean, he came in fourth in Iowa in the caucus. That's not making him feel very good. Everybody's talking about the fact that he ain't got no money now. And they're also saying if he comes in third or fourth in New Hampshire, that it's over with. Moreover, Mike Bloomberg has eaten up into his African-American people's lead, and so he might not even win South Carolina, which he was depending on, and Nevada, which comes up next week. So I think he just lost it. But I also think that the woman was a plant from the Sanders campaign to try to get him off course. Let's see what else Sean Hannity got to say. Sean Hannity is mocking Tribulation Trump now by spraying his face orange. I guess it'd be the orange face brigade, right? Everybody put that phony tan on. Hey, Sean, you don't have to spray your face orange to get a tan. Look at me, man. I woke up this morning, I washed my face 3 times with a special bath wash, and I still got a tan. Anyway, go ahead. If Triple H and Trump washed his face, or if that boy sweats, he got to have that. Trump got to have that red tan, that orange tan on his face. He got to have anti-sweat tan, because that stuff start running. You'll see rolls running down his. Anyway, Mr. Engineer, go. That's it. Because Sean has got his face sprayed orange too. Me, I don't have to. I just wake up and wash it. Here I am. Go ahead, Mr. Engineer.
All right, not exactly a good look for someone who, at this point, probably needs every vote he can get. Now, of course, the campaign has more cause for concern than Biden's deranged rantings that are, frankly, unhinged. There are now dozens of legitimate questions about zero-experience Hunter and his shady business dealings, not only in Ukraine, but China and other countries. And then quid pro quo Joe's Ukrainian shakedown. Remember, you're not getting the $1 billion. $1 billion unless you fire that prosecutor investigating my zero-experience son.
Yeah, Sean, wow. Come on now. Sean, you know that the European Union, that the International Monetary Fund and NATO and a bunch of other people were in support of Biden firing that Ukrainian prosecutor. You know that. This was not something that was done on a telephone call. This was not something that was done in the dark. This was not something that necessarily would have benefited Joe Biden. You know that, Sean. You know it. You know that. And you're trying to make it the same thing, which says to me, Sean, I've been around the barn a few times. I'm sure you have too, and most other people, that what you're trying to do is that Triple H and Trump is guilty as sin, but you're trying to make Joe Biden equally guilty. When you talk about, however, that Hunter Biden was getting paid all that money over there from that Hurricane Burisma, the energy company, that was grifting, it was nepotism, it was a whole lot of other ugly things, and you're right. I would have had I been Adam Schiff, maybe Nancy Pelosi, I would have made Hunter Biden, even though Trump wouldn't let anybody come and testify at the hearings, at the Senate hearing. I would have said Hunter Biden and Joe Biden got to come testify, even though John Bolton wouldn't have testified, or Mick Mulvaney, or Duffy, or the others. I would have said, for all fairness, Hunter Biden need to come and give an explanation of how he got that $83,000 a month and over $1.5 million. I would have made him testify. Because if you ain't got nothing to hide, you ain't got nothing to hide. You be like me. Everybody got something to hide except me and my monkey. But anyway, Mr. Engineer, roll on with Sean Hannity. I'm getting sick of him. I've had enough of him in my ear today. But go ahead.
But quid pro quo Joe doesn't have any answers to that question. Every time he's asked, all we get is indignant rage. And, of course, the media mob never pushes him. Take a look.
And Lindsey Graham told CBS News the Justice Department is vetting information from Rudy Giuliani about your son's work in Ukraine. Are you concerned a federal investigation may be launched?
Rudy Giuliani.
Are you concerned a federal investigation may be launched? Are you concerned a federal investigation?
No. Do you think your son is fair game here?
His son or my son?
Your son, Hunter.
I don't think our sons are fair game at all. No one has said he's done anything wrong except the thug Rudy Giuliani. Come on. Rudy Giuliani? A character witness?
I mean, the same Rudy Giuliani who nearly died on 9/11 became America's mayor?
No, stop. Don't do that, Sean. Don't go there. Rudy Giuliani was in a boudoir with his girlfriend when he heard about 9/11. He got dressed and ran down there. He was nowhere near the site, Sean. Don't do that. Don't do that, Sean. And why? If you watch these Trump supporters, they are always lying to try to make themselves look good. They can't just come out with a plain stomp down truth. Rudy Giuliani was nowhere near 9/11, Sean. Don't do that. Don't do that. And if your gullible, dog-eared listeners are listening to you lie like that, eventually this stuff going to back up on you. Lying is like filling a septic tank and you don't drain that bad boy. And after a while, they're going to back up on you. And the whole thing going to explode. and come back and back up in the toilet on you. But go ahead, Mr. Engineer, Sean.
And was there to lead a country, that Giuliani, the guy that went up against the mob and became one of the toughest prosecutors in history, the guy that turned New York City, which was a dump, into going from, 3,000 murders a year or thereabout to 300? That same Rudy Giuliani, yeah. Okay, he's controversial. But it doesn't answer the question, Joe. How does your zero experience son, no experience in Ukraine, energy, oil, or gas, get millions of dollars? And how is it you used leverage, I'd even argue shook down the country of Ukraine and said you're not getting $1 billion unless you fire him. You've got 6 hours. Son of a bee, they fired him. Really? Would you act that way if it was Donald Trump and Donald Trump Jr.? Anyway, Joe 30330 is in a free fall and is getting pretty nasty and negative and even turning on his Democratic opponents, including this brand new ad against poor Mayor Pete Buttigieg. Didn't exactly have the best track record in Indiana. Take a look.
And both Biden and Buttigieg have made hard decisions. Despite pressure from the NRA, Joe Biden passed the assault weapons ban through Congress. Then he passed the Violence Against Women Act. And even when public pressure mounted against him, former Mayor Pete fired the first African-American police chief of South Bend. And then he forced out the African-American fire chief, too. We're electing a president. What you've done matters.
You know, I think that, that's not a bad ad by Biden against Buttigieg, that, he fired the African police or African American. Actually, you should say Hamite. You need to get hip to what's happening. And also the, and the fire chief as well. But there probably were good reasons. I thought the ad he was going to show is that Buttigieg put reflective lights over the South Bend River underneath the bridges so the light would reflect upon the water, and then he put in very decorative sidewalks there in South Bend, Indiana. But he ripped up literally thousands of homes in the poor ghetto of South Bend, and put a lot of people in shelter. And I haven't heard a lot about that. When he first started running, they brought that up, but since it's kind of ceased. But, Biden is not running against Buttigieg. Biden is running against himself. He doesn't have the charisma, and Buttigieg is quite charismatic, all things being equal. I mean, I'll give him that. Biden does not have the charisma. He's not quick on his feet. He looks like he just doesn't have it. He's old and senile, and but compared to Bernie Sanders is older than Biden, but that boy's on fire, Bernie Sanders. And Mr. Engineer, go ahead and play the rest of this and take me out of Sean Hannity. Play it to the end.
Vote counting. Well, Mayor Pete apparently was the big winner out of Iowa, if anyone believes those numbers. And as the Biden ad points out, he struggles with minorities. It didn't look too good over the weekend in that debate. Now, he fired South Bend's very first African-American police chief. He forced out the African-American fire chief as well. And during the last pathetically boring, unwatchable Democratic debate, and I only watched it so you didn't have to in this wonderful audience of ours, he couldn't even answer a question about why he oversaw a massive spike in minority drug arrests during his time as mayor of South Bend. And Mayor Pete might be seeing a surge in the polls, but he's not exactly popular with even his own constituents. He's now battling for first place here in New Hampshire in the primary with congenital liar Elizabeth Warren and, crazy Bernie Sanders, pretty angry socialist.
All right, so the New Hampshire primary, the first primary of the nation, is happening right now today. Tribulation Trump was up there in New Hampshire. I'm going to play a clip of that a little bit later on in the broadcast today. He was up there last night trying to upset things, had his roaring crowd as he always does, but they're going to the polls today. And, right now, Bernie Sanders is leading in the polls, and I think that we have Buttigieg right behind Bernie Sanders, and then you got Elizabeth Warren and maybe Amy Klobuchar ahead of Joe Biden my time. So we're going to see how that all works out. This is a bit of a news blog we do, looking at spiritual wickedness in high places for the most part, making some observations about it and giving people a biblical foundation to the way of interpreting, rather than have Sean Hannity or Laura Ingraham or Janine Pirro or Anderson Cooper or Rachel Maddow or Don Lemon, Rush Limbaugh interpret what's going on in the world. You come to me and I'll tell you based on what the Word of God says. They'll just give you their worldly, sinful view. But the Manning Report will tell you what God has said, whether to say yea or nay, whether to go or to stay. You'll be led by the word of Almighty God. Come to the Manning Report on a daily basis to interpret the spiritual wickedness in high places, because there's plenty of it that's going on. And so I'm the Lord's servant, James David Righteous Rebel Manning, and I'm here to serve you with news and information.